I intend to enjoy the time I have left, and I suggest that you do the same. Life is precious. Enjoy every single second. You never know when. Good luck. I'll see you soon.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Till Death Do Us Scream. I'm, of course, Rob, and this is my lovely wife, bringer of death, Mayhem Mel.
What's up?
Thank you all for continuing love and support. Please like and subscribe to the channel. As I said before, we definitely appreciate it. The algorithm is what it is, and this will definitely help us out. So if you guys enjoy what we're doing, just give us a little like, ring the bell, all that stuff. Unfortunately, I gotta say that every single time. So, all right.
Push the buttons. Push the buttons. Push our buttons.
Do the things.
Do the things.
Do the things. So with that, oh, by the way, I want to apologize. We actually were late with this episode because we had a bit of this Final Destination situation happen last night.
Dude, power outages left and right. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I even had candles going, and it was so romantic looking in our apartment.
The lights were flickering on and off, and then they go off, and then go on, and then you'd hear a bunch of sirens outside, and yeah, it was pretty nutty. So
yeah, it was pretty bad.
That's why we're a little late with this episode. So I do apologize.
Sorry.
Normally we have it up on Monday. Yeah. With that, though, as you can see, we are dressed like Grim Reapers tonight.
Yes.
I am more of your classic Ingmar Bergman, Bill Sadler death from Bill and Ted. And my wife here has decided to go a little more
creepy.
And she looks awesome. If you haven't figured it out yet, we are doing Final Destination Bloodlines tonight. This was actually Melody's choice. I think it's a good one. I'm not too big of a fan of this one. There's things I like about it, but Melody seemed to fall in love with it. So
it did.
Yeah,
it did. It literally connects all the movies.
Yeah, it connects all the movies, and again, like it did switch the formula up a little bit. It didn't feel like it was like an ad nauseum thing where like, oh, we're just rebooting this thing, and it's just supposed to, be the same as. As it was in the past, and they definitely like there was some mechanics to this for sure.
Yeah,
actually, I just saw a really great video. It was with the producer of Final Destination, that was with the series from the very beginning, and I think it was like on Variety or something, or Entertainment Weekly. I can't remember, but it was like a video where he was detailing all the kills from the first one to 5.
Oh my god, that must have been awesome.
Yeah, it was totally awesome. But like the thing that was cool about it was like you could tell this producer has like deep love for this. You can tell like all the directors, even with its like with its pitfalls and its issues and stuff, they have a deep love for this franchise. And like seriously, like you could tell that they
sorry, I had to.
And seriously, you could tell that they've really like they put a lot into it. You know what I mean? Like it is a Rube Goldberg situation. It's like a mousetrap. They, basically like they, like work the mechanics to make it, feasible, to make it realistic to a certain degree. Like you can tell that they really care a lot about it. And that's no different with this sequel here.
Facts. Facts. Yes.
So if you go onto the Sledgehammer Horror channel, you can actually hear me and Mel talk about Final Destination. We talked about our best and worst list.
Yep.
And that was fun. That was
a lot of fun. I had a blast.
Yeah, it was cool. Go subscribe to Sledgehammer, by the way, if you haven't already.
For sure, yes.
But again, like, the reason why we're, mentioning that is because, like, this series is not perfect in any shape or form, honestly. At least to me, anyway. I think there's a lot of problems with it.
But that's okay.
But what did you think of this one? Like, do you think it fixed everything? You think, for the most part?
No, but I think it was still a really good movie. You know what I mean? I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I loved watching it.
It was entertaining as fuck.
It was very entertaining.
Yeah. And then, of course, like, we'll talk about it later, but, we got our goodbye from Tony Todd, which was amazing. Absolutely incredible. Let's talk about the history of this particular portion of the series real quick. So basically, this is something that was kind of floating around for a while. Originally, it was supposed to be like, I think it was like a 2-parter, and it was supposed to be from the focus of like paramedics and firefighters and stuff, which sounds awesome, by the way.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that kind of got scrapped. Then there was these 2 directors that were chosen. One works with radio silence a lot, and the other one, like, I think he did like Leprechaun Origins or something. So it's just a weird mixed bag. But the reason they were chosen is because, like, when it came to the production studios and stuff, like, they, like, they made this like mock accident and stuff, like, like with tape recordings and shit, like, to really show that they cared about the series.
Right.
And that's why they got picked up out of like 200 fucking directors. We've got John Watts, who worked on, Spider-Man, Homecoming and that entire Spider-Man series. And like, he's got, like, multiverse kind of shit in his blood. So it would make sense that he would be kind of the guy to do the timeline thing in terms of the script, right?
Right.
Because there is a lot of weaving and, like, changing and stuff, right?
Right.
But yeah, like, Tony, agreed to sign back on. Normally he wouldn't have. I think there's a couple that he just kind of, left alone because he didn't feel like the script was right, or, there wasn't enough meat on that bone, I guess. So, like, yeah, all these pieces, like, kind of fit together, and, they got their cast together, and yeah, who knew that it was going to be the monster that it is, though?
Right.
I mean, I think right now, I think it's like one of the highest selling horror films, not even of just the summer or the spring or just the decade. I mean,
this has been a highly anticipated movie. Like, for anybody who's been into the Final Destination series, has been anticipating this one for years.
Yeah, for sure. But, like, again, like, I mean, it's been so long since the last one. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
Like, it's just amazing to me that, like, well, we got to give it up for the marketing, by the way. Like, they had log trucks driving around with Final Destination Bloodlines on the side. You know what I mean? They did they pulled out all the stops. The thing that's interesting about this series is that, like, I don't know, like, have you ever had, like, a serious, like, near-death experience before?
Probably. I just don't remember.
I think my main one is when I was on Batman the Ride during my high school vacation, or my high school trip, and the thing went up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think the only thing to say, to your friends at that point is, I'm going to die. Because there's no jumping off. You know what I mean? Like, you're up in the air, first of all. You're on a conveyor. You're, like, on the lip. You know what I mean? Like, if that person didn't run out and pull the buckle down, like, I'd be done for it.
I mean, I've had some massive spin outs on the highway in Michigan during the snow.
Yeah.
Like, where I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to have an accident and die. And miraculously, I didn't. So, like, I was like, oh my God. Your heart gets pounding and you're like, oh, whew.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was in that accident where, like, we fishtailed into a bunch of people, and, like, I hit my head on the dashboard and stuff, which still traumatizes me from the highway to this day.
Right.
But, I don't think I've ever personally felt like death was actually, like, following me, like death wanted to take me out or whatever. You know what I mean? I think we're buddies at this point. With that, let's talk about the plot for Final Destination Bloodlines.
Okay.
Babe, would you start us off on this this brutal journey, please?
The movie begins. You have a young couple driving up and getting ready to go out on a date night.
Mhm.
And they come up to this new restaurant that's like, looks like the freaking Seattle Space Needle. Thank you very much.
It does.
And
I think it's supposed to.
yeah. So they go up, and there's this little kid, this little fucking kid. Oh, you want to you know, he's stealing coins out of the pond, the good luck well. He's jumping up and down.
I'm going to take this from one of my favorite podcasts. We hate movies. I can't take credit for this, but like they would consider that kid a disgusting shit boy.
It's a shithead, a little shithead.
Yeah.
You know, they ride the elevator up to the top. Mind you, it has a glass bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That would creep me out right
horrifying.
there. That's horrifying.
I would never.
So you see out and yeah, and they get up to the top. And you know, his friend that was supposed to get him in for a reservation got let go. Mm-hmm. So you know, he couldn't get the dinner that he wanted, and he's trying to he wants to propose to her.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, let's go up to the bar. So they go up by the bar, and then they see free champagne. She's starting to feel sick, so she runs to go find the bathroom. Has a little talk with the female singer.
I do want to mention
there.
this though, real quick though.
Mm-hmm.
This young Iris was played by Breck Bassinger,
Mm-hmm.
who played Stargirl, I think, in the CW,
Okay.
which I've never seen, but she was awesome in this scene. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Like she has that iconic look already.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it was this scene is so well done.
He wanted me to dress up like her, but I didn't have the wig. Okay, I'm sorry. It just wasn't going to happen.
No, this is better.
And I like looking creepy.
Yeah, this is better.
She has a little talk with this lead singer, and she's like, how far along are you? She's like, oh, I'm not. She's like, I think like 2 months or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then she sees that there's a little boy. And she's like, oh, that's my son. I had to bring him with me. And then she goes back out to talk to her fiance, and they're out on the outside. He's proposing to her, and she's like, you know, well, do you accept us? And that's when he finds out she's pregnant. Mm-hmm. So he says, yes, yes, yes. And there's this same little shithead little boy with the freaking penny. He's throwing pennies off the side of this thing, and the security guard's like, hey, stop that. You can kill somebody. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. And then the guy walks away, and he turns around, and he's like, yeah, fuck her.
Fuck you. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and then he throws the penny. Mm-hmm. Then you see this penny get stuck. It flies out, and it gets stuck into a ventilation shaft.
Yep.
Everybody goes.
It starts the machine, the death machine.
The death machine. And then, our lovely couple goes into the dance floor, which is a glass bottom dance floor with a freaking crystal chandelier above it.
Yeah. We should mention that the child that we won't mention the name yet because it's very important. His mother is actually the singer, or I think a backup singer for the band. And I'll tell you what.
The black kid or the white kid?
The black kid.
Okay, yeah.
I only recall this song from Animal House, like my childhood and stuff. But I'll never hear Shout the same way. Shout by the Isley Brothers.
Yep.
It's horrifying, dude. It's fucking terrifying what
happens. So
happens.
they're on the dance floor, and one of the pieces of the crystal chandelier drops. Mm-hmm. And it cracks the dance floor.
Yeah.
Okay, and as they're jumping and dancing, she stops. She's like, she has a moment where she backs up, mm-hmm. and the thing freaking drops, and people start falling. Yep. So the dance floor drops out, and then people start to panic. You have a chef that's doing a flambe or something like that. Yeah. He's got fire going, and a lady gets lit up on fire.
This is something that we have to mention. This is so fucking cool. So apparently, this old woman this 71-year-old woman came out of retirement because she used to be a stunt woman to do this scene. So she is the oldest woman in recorded history to be set on fire.
Nice. So then you got people that are starting to go down the stairs. They're running down the stairs, right? And then part of the building collapses. Okay. And you see the little shithead kid gets to go down. So then I think at this point it's our lady with the guy who actually works the elevator guy. And there's like a shit ton of people trying to get in the elevator, okay? And then this older guy, he tries to push his way in. The thing shuts on him and slams down. You get to see him get smooshed.
So anyway, so
at this point you start to see the building is starting to lean, and she's like panicking, okay? She's like trying to back up, and then it crashes. Oh no, part of the building falls, and a whole bunch of people fall to the side, and she's trying to hold on to this Asian lady's hand. And she can't hold on, and the lady ends up slipping and goes right into the glass. The fucking penny drops onto the piano. The piano smashes that lady. Falls. A whole bunch of people die. You're down to the little black kid and our heroine. And
we'll just say the kid's first name is William. We won't mention the last name yet.
Yeah. And then so he's been hiding in a box. She gets him. She's holding on to him, and the building drops. So she's holding on. Actually, her finger is being like held on by
her wedding ring is hanging by a nail.
By a nail. Okay. Her hand is holding up there. She's holding on to the boy. Her finger gets degloved. The piano, when it falls, and that little shithead boy finally gets down, he's like, yeah, smashes him. Got him.
Yep. So I want to mention this scene, why this scene looks so great, because it does, like, we have all these like incredible like openings for the series, but this one like really honestly felt like, like an old disaster film. There was actually, speaking of the marketing, during Mother's Day, they actually put a poster up of young Iris and Paul up on the, like the outside of the Space Needle, and told mothers it was like a Notebook type movie.
Oh no!
So they went into the movie thinking like this is gonna be a romantic drama or something, and then you see like through secret cameras, like all the mothers are like, "What the fuck am I watching? Like what is?"
And you flash, and you see. The couple is up on top again, and he's getting ready to propose to her, and she snaps out of it, and you realize that
she has this Ken Sledge moment, or the Ken Sledge mentions that he thinks that they go like this for 8 minutes.
No, wait, that's not what happens. And then all of a sudden you see this totally different girl. She's in a classroom and she's screaming, waking up.
Right.
Because she had a night terror. She saw this. And
therein lies the rub, because usually you see the person having the vision, and then they cut, they break from it, and then they go, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Nope.
But it's like a generational thing, and it goes off.
That's why it's called Bloodlines.
Else.
Yeah.
Aha.
So she wakes up and she's freaking out, and the professor is like, well, I know America can be terrifying, but it's not that scary. Anyways, she's put on academic leave. So she goes home, and her dad's there, and her brother is being a shithead and like.
Well, she's estranged from her brother. We should mention that.
Yeah, because she went off to college and she dropped contact. She stopped talking to him. She's estranged from her brother, and then she's talking to her dad. She's like, do you still have those that from mom's stuff, like her address book.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm looking for my grandma Lily.
Yeah.
Was it Lily? It was Lily, right?
No, sorry, Iris.
She's looking for her grandma Iris. And her dad's like, nope. And I threw that stuff away a long time ago. And the brother comes out and he's like, well, I'm going to my cousin's house. And she's like, you know what? I'm going with you. She goes there and
well, she learns from her uncle that Darlene, her mother, like it's kind of like the whole Halloween 2018 situation. Because you remember the whole thing with like Laurie Strode's daughter was that like, you know, she was teaching her how to fend for herself, how to shoot, how to, you know, like hide and all this other shit, how to create traps, and that could be seen as abuse, right?
Yep.
So like, you know, like the whole basically Iris was a helicopter parent for a reason.
When it comes down to it, her uncle was like, no, she fucked us up. No. She goes to her auntie and she's like, listen, I really need to find her because it's like I'm on academic leave from school. Like, this is bad. This is fucking with my life. And her grandma's like, well, these letters are over here, but I didn't tell you. So she finds out where her grandma Iris is at.
And it's like this fortress.
Oh my God. It's out in the desert. It's a fortress.
She's a prisoner pretty much in this place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She's a prisoner. Yeah. And at first, her grandma's like, nope. I'm going to let you talk about this now, baby.
Okay, so basically what happens is she meets, you know, older Iris. And, you know, like, basically Iris is telling her that, you know, she's been working with a guy named WB in terms of, like, trying to find that particular one, you know, when it comes to death design or whatever. So it's kind of like the best way to put it is, like, kind of like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. You know what I mean? Like when Sam Jackson was trying to find that one strong person. Like it's kind of like that, right?
Right.
So yeah, she basically says like, you know, like I, you know, have all these like things written in books and, you know, like all these different, you know, like, you know, these disasters and stuff that happen, like they're all connected. They all happen for a reason. And, you know, like we're just trying to find that one thing that like pretty much like, you know,
and then she tells her the story of, you know, what had happened and then how it was a vision. And then that's when it comes to the point to where you actually see what actually happens.
Yeah.
Where she had actually stopped this massive disaster where hundreds of people had died.
Yes.
She goes to the boy, she snatches that penny from him, and she runs inside and she says, everybody needs to get off here now. Everybody is going to die. Yeah. Get off that dance floor. Yeah. And she saves everybody.
So basically what happens is because she interfered with Death's design, like he's not only going to just take the people out, he's going to take their descendants out as well.
Because they never should have been.
Sorry, maybe I shouldn't identify. They. Grim Reaper may be they. I don't know. Who knows?
Death's design is going to take out everybody, starting from the
Marvel
first person.
Comics, the Grim Reaper was a female.
From the first person who's supposed to die, and all of their descendants, then to the next person and all of their descendants.
Yeah.
So Iris literally had a book, clippings of every single death that had happened since then in the order that they happened.
To prove the point to Stephanie, she takes her granddaughter outside and basically allows herself to be impaled by a weather gun.
She follows her outside knowing that it's going to be her death.
But she was going to die anyway. She had cancer.
She had cancer.
Yeah. But again, we're talking about homages. This, you know, was reminiscent of the Omen, actually, like when the priest gets impaled. I don't think you're going to second guess your grandmother after that.
Nope. And she grabs the book and she runs.
I do want to mention this too, because, you know, like it's kind of like the elephant in the room to a certain extent. And I'm not going to get too much into it. I just want to mention too that, like, you know, sometimes Hollywood has an issue where they do things like where they, you know, have a character who's a white savior, quote unquote. And you know what? This could be seen as that to a certain degree, but I think it was executed well enough to, you know, like be okay, I guess. You know what I mean? Like the fact that she saved a young, black child and stuff. You know what I mean? Like usually that's, kind of seen as like, oh, of course it's a young white woman that did that shit. You know what I mean? Are we at the barbecue now?
Well, we got to do the funeral. So they have grandma's funeral, and the mom shows back up.
That's right. Yes, Darlene shows back
Darlene shows back up. And, homegirl's just not having it. And she's like, nope. And she leaves after the funeral. And they all go back to the uncle's house, which is Darlene, her son, her ex-husband, and then obviously, the uncle with his wife and their kids.
Right, their cousins, Eric, who's a tattoo artist, and you got Bobby, who's got a peanut allergy. Obviously, like I'm just trying to, add something to the, to the characterization or whatever. But like, that's another thing too. I want to mention that, like, these characters are really well done.
Yeah.
Really well done. And the one guy that turns out, like you think he's going to be the asshole, turns out to be the best character in the fucking movie. That's the other thing I love about the series is like, it's always great with like, just kind of, messing with what you're expecting, right?
Yep.
Because like the one thing that messed me up from the entire trailer, and this is actually like, because this actually happened to me when I was serving food one time, had nothing to do with it. It wasn't my fault, but somebody had actually swallowed a piece of glass in a restaurant that I was working at.
What? Yeah. No, that's crazy.
Yeah. So like this fear of swallowing glass has always been there with me. And I'm like, I'm seeing the glass, like the piece of glass, and
that's why you're always supposed to burn a well out if glass gets broken around it.
Oh God, who's gonna swallow this shit? And it turns out it's not like that at all.
Nope.
It's not like that at all. So basically, like the glass falls, and then Stephanie's father steps on it, and he falls on the ground, and then there's a chain reaction that's just amazing.
And
he gets his head ripped off by a lawnmower, pretty much. So then we have Eric. Eric, working. He's working at a tattoo parlor, and it's late. He's working by himself, and then there's this whole thing. Like again,
well, no, he wasn't working by himself. It's the owner made him close up, and he's like, "Oh, it's not like I didn't just lose my father or anything like that." Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, like.
Oh, it was a great lead up.
I have a nose ring. You know what I mean? I'm always
yes.
Like, I've actually done the thing where like it gets caught in like just a sponge, and you're like you're freaking out. I could imagine getting caught to the ceiling fan.
Oh my God! But you know what? And then you think he's gonna get lit on fire.
Yeah. So there's like something that falls, and like like I think it's like alcohol or something that was on the tattoo table, and like it lights the floor on fire, but. Thank God for leather, because Eric survived because he had a leather jacket on.
Yep.
The family actually, like, this is what's so cool about this. Like, they're not like, oh, well, he could just drive to the hospital himself. They're like on it. So like, they're like, oh, we got to make sure Eric gets to the hospital safe. You know what I mean? And then like, yeah, so basically like another family member like gets like destroyed by a trash can.
Well, no, it was they couldn't find Eric. They couldn't find him. And homegirl, she's trying to call him, she's freaking the fuck out. And then she goes to her brother and she's like, we gotta find him. And they walk outside, and then they see him, and he's like, oh, I didn't die. Yeah. It's not real. Yeah. He goes up to a trash can. He's licking it, acting like a fucking moron. His sister walks by, and our Miss Heroine had already said, "Oh yeah, the leaf's gonna blow into the thing. The kids are gonna get distracted. The basketball's gonna hit you in the head. You'll get knocked in the trash can." Sure as shit. It happens to the sister. She gets knocked in the trash can as it's being pulled into the dumpster. Then they go back, and they're back in the house with the auntie and everything, and that's when they find out that Eric was not his father's son.
Yes.
That's why Death wasn't coming after him, because he wasn't part of the bloodline. And then they realized...
Well, I thought it was the fact that Darlene had the affair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had that she wasn't... And then he finds out that... And then...
So Stephanie had a fucking brother she didn't even know about. Dude, this is like, Such a soap opera.
So they realize that the person that they're looking for works in the morgue at the hospital, and they need to go there.
Mhm.
So
Of course
they're
it's-
like, we have to take the next in line. You're the next one to go. Like, we got to keep you with us, keep you safe.
Let me take this one.
You can go right ahead.
Okay, sorry. So they go to the hospital, and basically, like, they encounter William Bloodworth, who turns out to be the young boy. Oh, Final Destination Men in Black 3'd us. Okay? That's pretty much what happened, right?
Right.
So he was the young boy at the Space Needle.
Mhm.
And, you know, like, he was spending his entire life dedicating himself to death as a mortician, working with Iris to find, as I said, this situation where they're trying to find this whole thing, this thing that could break the cycle or whatever. You have to, well, it's kind of like Smile. You can kill somebody, right? Or you can also resuscitate them, which actually happens in Final Destination 2. So he mentions the main character from that. And, that's basically like, that's it. Like, if you resuscitate yourself, i.e. flatliners, then, you break the cycle.
But then he also says in the end, like in his final speech,
Yeah.
which was, death comes for us all.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get out of this alive. You know what I mean? Like, basically he's saying it's going to happen. Like, there is no way to break the cycle. You're going to die.
And if you guys are aware, they actually, they allowed Tony to ad-lib that part. So it was like him actually talking to the fans. It wasn't,
I'm actually going to enjoy the time I have left.
Yeah.
You should too.
Okay, you got me. Fuck. Now I'm crying. Yeah,
That was and if you follow Tony Todd and his career and the horror movies that he's been in, or if you've ever met him, seeing him that way in the movie, he did not look, you could tell that he was very, very sick.
Just like in life, like the thing that happens, like even in, it doesn't matter what medium of entertainment it is or whatever, but I've had a lot of people die in the 16 to 17 years that I've been doing this. And, I had an opportunity to actually spend time with Tony and get to know him and have him talk to me like an individual, not just shake my hand hey, nice to meet you. He was definitely a character and so funny and so charming and so sweet. He met Melody a couple years later after that, and he was so sweet to her. There's nothing better to. This guy was just an amazing human being and a legend. And
okay, I'm starting to cry here.
Sorry. Basically, they find out this information from William Bloodworth, and he, they try it out.
Well, no, okay. So what happens is while they're talking to William Bloodworth, Eric grabs his brother and takes him to a different area. So they can't find him. They don't know where he's at. So he has already taken his brother. He's grabbed a wheelchair and he's taken him into the MRI room.
Yes.
Okay. And in the meantime, the other part of the group is looking for them. Where the fuck did they go? He's next. And Eric's like, no, I'm not going to let you die.
Yeah.
He said, we figured it out. You have a severe allergy. So we're going to have you die by, with having an allergic reaction, have you die.
Bobby has a severe peanut allergy.
Yes. So he went to bring peanuts to him. And his brother's like, hell, if I'm going to die, I'm not going out that way. And so he gets peanut butter cups.
The plan is to resuscitate Bobby. And then it turns out because Eric intervened, he's part of it too.
Dude, he got sucked into the MRI machine, bent in half.
This is one of the absolutely most incredible kills in the series.
Ripped out.
This is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Just the way the body tears and rends and stuff. And you know, the wheelchair going through. It's pretty awesome. I'd definitely say it's one of the best kills of the series.
Yeah.
Sure. Then there's what is it? Like a screw
vending
or something?
machine. It was a vending machine. It was like the little coil.
Yeah.
Because remember, as Eric earlier had gotten all pissy with the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it hits Bobby right in the head.
And it spins through his head.
Yeah, it spins through his head. Yeah. Leave to Final Destination. They've never changed when it comes to the to the gore factor. And look, I'm gonna mention this too. There was a couple scenes that really bugged me, like when Dad got his head crushed by the like run over by the lawnmower. You could tell that blood was CGI. I hate.
Well, you could tell at the end the blood was CGI.
I'm just saying,
too.
I hate CGI blood. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Like, it really just kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. The safest place they're going to go to is to the grandma's cabin. So it's the mom, the son, and the daughter. And they run off to the cabin. They end up crashing through the gate.
Yes.
And then the RV ends up getting stuck in the pond.
Mm-hmm.
Homegirl can't get her belt buckle out. And she's like, no, Mom, you need to get in that cabin. If you don't get in that if you get in that cabin and you stay safe, then I'll be safe.
Yes.
Well, Mom doesn't get into the cabin.
Yeah.
She dies.
Yeah.
And then the brother gets the sister out.
But they did have a moment of clarity, right? Like, like when it comes to their resolution when it comes to their relationship, right?
Yeah.
Short-lived, obviously.
Yeah, very short-lived. Anyway, so then the brother gets her out, but, he thinks she's dead, so he does, the CPR.
Right. Which is different from defibrillators or whatever to bring the body back or whatnot.
So, he brings her back. And then what was it, like a week later?
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. So a week later or a couple of days later, he's getting ready to go with his date to the to prom or something like that, or homecoming. I don't remember.
So,
anyways, then
he's got a relationship with his sister at this point.
Yeah. So they're talking to his date's dad, and he's like, well, you're a medical person. He's like, well, technically her heart never stopped, so she never died. Done. Train comes through, goes off the rails, slides right through, and then logs come flying. Sister and brother are running. Sister gets first, and then the brother dead. Done.
Pretty awesome. So basically, like Iris was saying, everything's connected.
Everything.
Just it's just like it's an ongoing thing. Like in terms of just the way death's through line is supposed to go.
Yep.
It's not supposed to change. It's not supposed to be altered. You know what I mean?
What was it said, that if you fuck with death's design, you die even more horribly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. And again, there was a lot of things I really enjoyed about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I understand and I appreciate why people love it so much. I'm so happy that it's doing so well.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there are. I'm still a Final Destination 2 head. I love Final Destination 2.
It's a good one.
But yeah, they did a solid job. They did a really solid job. And all the kudos to everybody involved. I mean, this could have been a movie that just honestly went nowhere. I mean, it was so long we've been waiting for this series, like you said. You know what I mean?
Right.
So long.
Right.
And people spoke. People spoke, and they love Final Destination.
It's so good.
It's great. It's good. It's a solid addition. I hope they continue it.
Yeah.
And I hope they do it the right way. And then don't get into the quagmire giggity of the quagmire of basically like writing themselves in a corner.
Right.
Like we don't necessarily know what to do with the series anymore.
Right.
Like just do it the right way, and then when you feel like it's not yours anymore, just end it.
Right.
Just end it.
It's done. If they do another Final Destination, it's going to be
if they left it alone
different
after
timeline.
This, it would be fine. If they left it at Bloodlines, it'd be perfect.
Right.
Death wins.
Death wins.
Death wins. Mortality. Okay, so that's Final Destination Bloodlines. It's out in theaters now. If you haven't seen it, please do yourself a favor and do it.
Finish him!
Make sure that you go to a theater that doesn't fall on you, because apparently that happened, and that's crazy.
That is super crazy.
That's insane.
That's
absolutely insane. I hope everybody's okay, but Jesus Christ, that's fucking insane.
That is crazy.
That is not the 4DX experience you want when it comes to Final Destination.
Absolutely not.
So yeah, and I think the other thing we should mention about this movie is that, like, it does make you a little more cautious, right?
Yes.
I remember when I was working at food service, I would pick up every fork. You know what I mean? Like anything that dropped. Because I just had this notion that there's a possibility that somebody just step on it and it would just like fall into the, maybe the, like the heating and cooling system and cut that out. And then
I've worked in places that possibly could have happened.
Jesus Christ, dude. I just would like to die with my wife and family around me. Thank you very much. I don't want to fucking, be incinerated or drown or any of that shit. Like,
Don't worry. He'll be a very old man when he dies. I will have many years to torture him first. Okay. Thank you.
Good choice, baby.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that is it for us. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
With that being said,
our
next one.
That is it for us. Please join us next time when we will be talking about, the Philippou Brothers' latest is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really ever get a serious chance to talk about it. But God, Talk to Me is amazing. It's so good. Talk to me. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do Talk to Me. That's the next episode. Like I said, please like and subscribe. It definitely helps us out with the algorithm. And with that, we will scare you later. Talk to you soon.
Deuces. Bye.
Bye.
You busy tonight?
You want to turn, eh?
My mum leaves at 9.
So you're 10.
So where'd you get it from anyway?
Apparently it was the hand of someone who could connect with the dead.
I heard it was the hand of a Satanist. The other hand's just out there.
White people shit, man, I tell you.
All right, let's do this! You know the drill. Say, talk to me.
Talk to me.
Haley, fucking stop it, he's choking!
83 seconds, get it off him!
What if we opened the door but we didn't shut it?
Delete it. Delete it, come on!
The spirits, they followed us. We have to do something! You want to do it again? They're not gonna stop.
What was it?
What? I don't know!
I let you in. I let you in. Oh my God.